Joining me now, policy strategist Elena Beverly, formerly Associate Director for the Obama White House Office of Urban Affairs. Peter Emerson. Peter has worked in 3 Democratic administrations. Kayleigh McEnany, spokesperson for the RNC, and Ned Ryan, CEO of American Majority and former writer for President George W. Bush, speechwriter that is. With a welcome to you both. Kayleigh, we'll go ladies first here, and I'm curious if the president isn't going to be asking his candidates about Roe v. Wade, as he said in an interview with Maria Bartiromo, although he spoke about that on the campaign trail. What do Republicans think he should be asking?
Well, you know, as Neil Gorsuch pointed out in his confirmation hearings, President Trump did not ask about overturning Roe v. Wade. I believe that will be a precedent carrying forward. You know, it's really important, I think, to separate politics from what the role of a judge is. You know, I'm here as spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. We're a party of life. We're a party that regrets the fact that 60 million children are not here because of abortion. That is distinct from the role of a judge. The role of a judge is to call balls and strikes. The conservative legal movement, of which I was a part of, got my Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School. I was a part of the Federalist Society. The head of the Federalist Society, who helped President Trump put this list together, said this is not about ensuring outcomes. This is about appointing judges who interpret the words on the page of the Constitution as they're meant to be interpreted. So this is not about a political outcome. It is about having judges who respect the rule of law, who respect the Constitution. Elena,
I'd like you to respond to that.
Well, I agree with Kayleigh only in as much as this should be not about politics. It should be about the Constitution. It should be about judicial responsibility, and it should be about the responsibility of our senators to provide advice and consent to this process. So we know that on the campaign, Trump said that he was only going to nominate justices who would overturn Roe v. Wade, and we need to look at the record of individuals who he is nominating, and then it's up to our senators. The time is now for our senators to stand up for our civil rights and civil liberties and put country above the politics of partisanship and polarization. This is a time when we need to ensure that the rights of our children, that rights of my daughter, are not going to be more limited than mine are because a justice is appointed to the bench who could curtail civil liberties for the next 40 years.
So before I get to the gentleman here, I'm going to do this quickly, with Amy Barrett being the top female name and one that's been bantered about, and by most accounts is one of the top 2 choices at this point going into this nomination process. This is somebody who has a very conservative background. She is very pro-life, and yet there's thought that maybe the pick of a woman would sort of soften the blow, with people anticipating, well, maybe she would vote to stay with Roe v. Wade. Both of you ladies on this panel, Kayleigh, you first. What do you think about that? Do you know that Amy Barrett, were she to be the nominee, would definitely support overturning Roe v. Wade?
No, I don't know that. You know, she will interpret the laws as they are written. She honors precedent and stare decisis. She's actually written about this, and she will come to the right conclusion. I love having the idea of a woman on the court, and I would point out that Democrats have been saying, you know, overturning Roe v. Wade. They've been using this as a scare tactic going back to 1982 when Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed to the court. Obviously, Roe v. Wade's still here. So, you know, we're having this discussion. I think it's really a scare tactic to dissuade us from picking conservative, Constitution-loving judges.
All right, but it is an issue. Elena, do you have any concerns about the possibility of Amy Barrett being picked?
Absolutely. Look, being a woman is not necessarily a proxy for being pro-choice, right? And we are correct in that a judge must look at precedent and make independent decisions, right? So we have a president who has committed to nominating only individuals who he believes will overturn Roe v. Wade, and that's not to incite fear unnecessarily.
However,
in the heart of the public. It's a fact, and therefore it should be something that we fear.
And to that point, Ned, there are a lot of women across this country that it is a fear-inducing concept to think that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Is this something that shouldn't be put out there as some sort of a litmus test for the next Supreme Court pick?
Well, first of all, I think it's something that's kind of understood. Of course it's going to be a big issue, Alex, and I think people are dancing around it. It is an issue. Elections have consequences, and this is why evangelicals came out and voted for Trump in 2016. And I've actually been making the argument that When they voted for him, they were late breaking. If he gives them another conservative judge, they'll become foot soldiers for him in the 2020 re-elect. And, you know, a lot of us as conservatives feel that Roe v. Wade was incorrectly decided back in 1973. We'd like to see it overturned, thrown back to the state legislatures. And if Democrats and those that agree with Roe v. Wade want to see it still be a part of our law, go through the constitutional amendment process. That's the proper process that should be done with. But I will say this, two things. I think Trump will appoint a 40-something member of the Federalist Society who is a strict originalist. I think Trump understands and realizes this is his chance to give himself something that Reagan and Obama and Clinton couldn't do. It will be the Trump court, and he could legitimately put the Supreme Court out of the reach of the left for at least a generation, if not more. He understands that. I don't think he's going to squander this chance, but more importantly, I don't think Mitch McConnell will squander this chance either. We
all are understanding what's at stake here, that's for sure, Ned. Peter, your thoughts as you wrap up this conversation here with the president planning to announce the pick on July 9th, the process then moves to a hearing, confirmation while the calendar is racing toward the midterm election. Anything Democrats can do to block a nominee or at least slow the process down?
Absolutely, they can slow the process down. Whether they can block it or not is too early to tell. I'm just disappointed that Democrats haven't gotten the transplant of a spine or a heart and as yet showed any demonstration that they're willing to do the parliamentary as well as rallies as for today with immigration should be replicated around the country. I will say something, that Kayleigh's response was one of the most disingenuous responses. Constitutionalists and the Federalists would really take us back to the Constitution, which was primarily for white property owners, men. It's not for blacks, it's not for Hispanics, and it's not for women.
All right, look, Kayleigh, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to respond to Peter.
That's ridiculous. The Constitution is the founding document of the greatest country on earth, and for you to cast it in a racial light is absolutely ridiculous. That dishonors our founding fathers. It dishonors the principles that this country stands on.
Peter, 10 seconds to you. That's it.
Well, unfortunately, I've read a lot of history, and if you know, having been in Cambridge, where you got your law degree, 20 miles to Concord is where the shot fired around the world was heard. And the Shays Rebellion is the tipping point for the polarization we're feeling for now. So it's not dishonoring, it's simply recognizing what history is.
All right, unfortunately, that is going to have to be the last word. It's a big panel. I would have liked to give you a lot more time, but we had a lot of live events today to get to. But I thank you all for weighing in. It has been a day of rallies, everybody. Hundreds of thousands of people are marching in dozens of U.S. cities today, all against the family separations carried out by the Trump administration.